Okay, so we saw a whole lot of stocks rally today, including Bitcoin. So let's take a closer look at Mara stock, Bitcoin, MSTR, and UVXY because it can be leading into a really good hedging opportunity as we further, trade these charts or at least position ourselves for the overall move that we've been keeping track of for a while now on this channel. So please remember, guys, like everything I say in this video is just my own personal opinion. Something very exciting happened today, which I'm going to get into in more detail with Mara stock, and we sort of talked about it a little bit on the Discord today as it was happening. So I am going to explain more in what I'm doing now based off of the move that we saw. But tomorrow, Tuesday, is the last day of September. Q4 after tomorrow is when it begins. So we're going to see what kind of setups we got starting off in Q4. The liquidation heat maps we're still seeing. So on the 1 week BTC USDT perpetual futures for Binance, it actually triggered, or not triggered, but it hit a liquidation wall up here on the week, and it started to stabilize a little bit after that. So that's very interesting. I'm gonna take a little bit more of a closer look to that in a moment on the actual chart. And then when it comes to the 3 month bigger picture, we still have this 107 and just below 107k liquidation wall. It hasn't faded more since yesterday, so I'm very interested in seeing if how this is going to continue to hold up, and if we're even going to reach it at all. So that's what I want to take a look at. So right now, if you guys remember in yesterday's video, I'm going to go over Bitcoin and then Mars stock and then MSTR and why UVXY seems very attractive right now for a hedging opportunity. So here's the thing, right? On Bitcoin, we've been keeping track of this bigger picture corrective move after we topped out up here at 124.5k basically. 124.5k on the hourly candles, and then we had this 3-wave move down with red being accumulation. Not that long ago, we came back down into the same price level of this previous accumulation zone, so under 113k, and it stretches all the way down to 106k. But we came back down into this value zone that I've been keeping track of for a while. We've hit it, and now we had a second opportunity to continue accumulating more of a significant swing trade with the idea that Bitcoin can go up to 128k. So I've been accumulating. I'm taking advantage of this value zone. I talked about this so many times. We were in this area for a bit of time. We failed to come down into this area down here, so I'm actually going to delete it. It's sort of invalidated, just because this move up did break the short-term resistance, which was also expected. I said that yesterday, that even if we break over this, it's not very significant. This bigger picture resistance area is what's actually significant, because this one factors in the actual all-time high all the way down to this low that we have down there. As you can see, the low point is right here at the swing low, overall swing low, and then the dot up here is for the swing high. So as you can see, we are in the more significant resistance. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to move this to the side a little bit to make it easier to look at, and I'm going to color code it red, but this isn't like, it's still overlapping with this red area, so it's still an accumulation zone, but this is an opportunity for the price to hold a higher low. I'm going to get into more detail about that in a moment. It looks like it still wants to pop up a little bit more. So if you guys been accumulating like I have within this price range of 106 to 113, like, congrats. You probably have a pretty good average cost basis on there. But the price is weakening. It's quite maxed out on the RSI. So what does that mean? That means that the potential for us just to continue higher is quite significant, because, well, and I'm not gonna be like structuring any short-term positions based off of this completely, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So basically, we're in this resistance area. You guys know, if you've been watching, I really like the 0.5 retracement. In this case, it's 115.8 to 115.8. I can't talk. 115,883 is that 0.5. So it's very likely we can reach it, but we can either do it now or we can come down and hold a higher low within this simple supportive retracement area in red. Now, if we can hold that, go higher. I mean, if we drop down now and we go higher and actually hit the 0.5, we'll make a new higher high from there. We have a lot of imbalances too. This one was sort of filled, but we have one right here as well that can sort of give us a little bit of a dip before it goes up higher as well. Just for a little bit of context, it can look something like that, and we can find support very early. But this isn't what I'm really paying attention to. What I'm paying attention to is whether or not we can hold a higher low eventually when the price corrects itself. Because today we saw Nvidia really push the market higher, and potentially some of that, U.S. government shutdown talk could have also played a factor into it. But I think it was mostly Nvidia influencing a lot of these assets to go higher, and it's going to be a big factor when we get into tomorrow in just a moment. But basically, right now, nothing has changed in the bigger picture, right? So we're in this move down. We broke the overall support for it. So if this Nvidia news didn't come out, most likely we would have just found resistance. We would have held resistance and then just go lower. So it's very interesting now to see if this Nvidia hype, and if it doesn't, it goes up higher. Great. I have my exposure, and I'm sure I hope a lot of you have some long Bitcoin exposure. If you just have the same idea for higher prices that I do, it just makes sense, at least to me. But right now we're in this resistance area again, just over 113k and almost 118k. So the idea is we can trade within this area a little bit, but when it comes to these aggressive fluctuations being factored in, I want to see a higher low being held. I really don't want to see the price break below 111k basically. So you can hold a higher low and try to max out this area a little bit more. But regardless of what it does here, if we can't break over 118k, then we can just see it can very much easily be a bigger triangle pattern forming to consolidate the price before a breakout, or it can just be quick rejection. We see aggressive sell-off, triggering those liquidation walls at 107k. And it would also hit the short-term deep value, and then we can see a quick recovery after that. At least that's what I'm looking at, especially with Q4 starting just after tomorrow. So as of right now, Bitcoin has momentum. It can definitely go higher. Volume is beginning to shrink, although if we do see a move down, I'm not too crazy about this support right here, but I'm just focused on the value area based off of fib structures, investor sentiment, just from this move, that this is the higher low, an ideal higher low. But regardless, we'll see how it unfolds. If we go down into this area, I'm gonna buy more long Bitcoin exposure, like some more IBIT or like even BitU, because Q4 is just right there, and this move higher into if we found resistance before breaking 113k, like here, we could have seen the price drop very quickly. But since we are within the bigger picture resistance, holding a higher low just seems a lot more probable than not for me. It seems more likely that we can hold a higher low if the price does correct, just because of us actually coming into this value zone right here. So that's basically what I'm looking at Bitcoin. I'm going to let it continue to unfold, and I may be looking at some BitU soon. So now with Mara stock, this is what's super exciting, right? So this entire year, 2025, like we've been, on this channel, we've been killing it with Mara stock. We can actually remove this because we never actually broke below. I'll show it back up if we do break below this. But here's the thing, right? With Mara stock, we've been killing it this year. Like really, really good. You guys know red means accumulation for me. Really good accumulation, value gap sell, take profit. Accumulation, we had two opportunities. Extension area, sell, which also overlapped very, very nicely with all of these value gaps right here, perfectly. And now we had another accumulation area. I'm still looking at potentially breaking over $20 this year by the time the bull market ends, but we will see, right? I mean, we definitely have momentum. We held a very nice higher low within this in this uptrend. very nicely. So if you guys accumulated in here, congrats, because I was saying that some short-term profit taking in this value gap and the retracement, so $18 to $19 is really attractive. And then if I can show you guys, we had an opportunity for short-term longs with simply revisiting the value gap to take profit, and then waiting because the price was most likely going to fall. We just been I'm very happy about this actually. But then I gave you guys this extension areas accumulation um, on the way down, and then this value gap to sell. So that was also a very nice trade. And then I kept saying though, like I am going to be, and I didn't tell anyone to do this. This is what I was doing. If you guys were on the Discord, I told you. I mean, I gave you, we talked about it a little bit. I gave you guys some strike prices and stop losses and how many contracts I actually bought. So if you guys were on the Discord, basically what I was looking at was we went up into, we started rising higher. We broke over the 120 moving average. So I was like, you know what, we're above 1650 at that point. I ended up buying 10 contracts, 1650 strike expiration this Friday. And then I bought another 10 contracts with a $17 strike price because we were entering into this value gap. And in my view, and this is super exciting because now we actually get to see how healthy Mara stock is. This is what's exciting about it. So I told you guys, so I bought the 20 contracts total, 2 different strike prices. And I kept the premium low by the nearest expiration, which is October 3rd. But then I told you guys on the Discord before we hit $18, I'm like, $18 is my personal stop loss. Because if you guys look at this retracement area, which with the value gap, $18 is the top range. It says $17.93, but I just used $18. I told you guys if that's my stop loss, it will be triggered if the price breaks over this. So I'm out. I have reduce risk, conserve capital. That's the whole purpose of trading these value gaps. It's all about conserving capital. If something happens like Nvidia goes up like crazy and it influences everything else to go up, right? So now what I'm looking at, and I told you guys this, I'm not really too crazy about shorting Bitcoin again unless we really see some weakness at this ascending resistance, which used to be a support a while back, but now it's been acting as resistance. So I may be looking at, if the price can go up into this area, I may be looking at some more puts, some put contracts. But ideally, if it can break this area even briefly and hit $20, we won't just have an opportunity. So, the way we've been trading this, if you guys are new, the way I've been kind of like illustrating some ideas here was, and we got to talk about MSTR and UVXY, so I don't want to make this too long. But we've been doing some short-term trading, longs and shorts, and taking profit at the support resistances perfectly. We had a lot of these opportunities. And then overall, on the side, we're also, I've been talking about accumulating within the red because it's a potential for a higher low. The price is consolidating within it. It looks good. And then short-term profit taking, and then the rest of the profit can be taken over $20. But this is to reduce risk, lock in some profit, minimize our position size, and then we can either add more with a good opportunity, or we can go up higher. So regardless, it's going up. The idea right now is though, if this Nvidia hype, so then again, the rest of the, if we break over $20 and actually enter this, then I would not be shy from locking in profit because we can easily reverse back down below 20 very, very easily. It's just what makes sense based on where a lot of the value is when it comes to Mara trying to come back down to certain prices and consolidate. We consolidated here quite a bit. We consolidated in the same range, consolidated quite a bit. So around that $15 range is where Mara likes to hang out a lot. So if we do break over $20, I don't be greedy, in my opinion. But basically, if this Nvidia hype is just one day hype, the idea is here now. If we just look at the move up, um, so I'm gonna change this a little bit to make it easier to look at. And I don't want to. This is more of a caution area to keep an eye on. Is there an opportunity to actually hold support, hold a higher low? Could be. Again, us breaking down below the median actual value gap, or not value gap, but support area, and us, it's just not. I'm not really seeing this hold. I still expect Mar to come down and trade back within this range soon. But if this Nvidia hype does last longer than expected, I mean, regardless of recent inflation data, jobless reports, and we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with this government shutdown. I mean, I there's just no telling what's really going to happen. We will see. So based just on the value structures itself, we have resistance, ascending resistance right there, and it's the RSI is starting to max out before even reaching these previous resistances. So it's just very cautious. If you weren't early on in the game accumulating, for example, in my accumulation area, it's just the best way to explain it. If you weren't doing something like this and you started accumulating past this value gap, like I hope you locked in profits, or you just have a really small position, because it's very likely the price can continue to rally. That's absolutely fine, regardless of what Bitcoin does. It can absolutely continue to rally, regardless of Bitcoin being in resistance. But the idea here is that it can correct itself very easily. We have a value gap right here, another one. I mean, this looks a lot different too, like on the 2-hour candles. But the idea is that we can retrace down, and then this range between like 1690 and 1770 is a very important area to look at, where the RSI is at and what's going on. So really, if we break below this, if we break below 1680, chances are we'll just break the structure. We'll break below the swing low, and then we'll be trading or consolidating back within this range very, very easily. We actually saw a very similar structure like this in 2024. Although the macro environment was a little bit different, but I'm just being very cautious right now. I mean, this rally is all hype. It has nothing to do with the actual underlying fundamentals of this company. And I'm not. I expect Mara to be much higher. I mean, sometime in the future. But in the short term, if this is purely hype and nothing to do with the fundamentals, which is what it seems um, like I would not be very greedy right now, and it's just very highly probable that we'll see a breakdown, and then we can see if it can hold retracement. But if it breaks below this, I'm looking at shorts, or if it continues higher, hits this line, I'll probably look at shorts as well, and maybe like average it in as it goes to 20. And then if it breaks over 2050, that'll be my SL 2050. And then TP will be back down here, roughly 15 to 1520. Or not SL, TP. SL would be like, somewhere below 2050. But regardless, right now, yeah, I'm not like, this is all FOMO. This is all hype. I am not in no means interested in going long right now. It's just exactly what I said. So it's very important to be cautious, right? So now with MSTR, so yeah, it's all about conserving capital, right? You conserve your capital so then you can wait for a proper setup. Unfortunately, today's SL was triggered mainly due to a ton of hype in the market, probably due to just one stock influencing the overall market, basically. But that's where it gets interesting, right? So I'm very interested to see how it's going to unfold. And then if that support in yellow doesn't hold, then cool. Either way, with MSTR, we filled that value gap I mentioned. We went up into short-term resistance. It didn't max out the RSI, but that's fine. Yesterday, I gave you guys this area ahead of time saying like, hey, Bitcoin, if it continues to hold strong, we can see, MSTR go up into this area, and we did. We're still in an overall downtrend, though. We see we're still in a downtrend. We haven't broken over the descending resistance, and we actually are holding at that point 0.5 pretty well. The point 0.5 at $325. Um, it kind of falls in line with Bitcoin as well. Like if this is all due to just Nvidia hype, we can just see this resistance hold. I mean, MSTR isn't completely like correlated to Bitcoin. It's just influenced by it, just like Mara. But at any point, if we see a corrective move, just like any weakness in Bitcoin can amplify in Mara stock, it can also amplify in MSTR, in my opinion, because it's this company is quite leveraged. Um, but yeah, I'm still short term bearish on this. I mean, we can see a little bit of, it can break over the 120 moving average very easily. But I don't see this actually going up much right now. Again, if it's all due to hype, we've seen Nvidia influence the market so much to the upside many times this year, and then eventually the hype dies down, and then we can actually look at value structures a little bit more properly. But right now, like, yeah, I'm still looking to at least fill this area more. I still see some short term weakness. There's really not much to say. None of this stuff matters anymore. We already kind of covered that previously. But if again, I think the last video where I talked about MSTR itself, I explain in more, I explain very well what all of this is and how I got it. And I actually think I did this like in front of you guys, created these on the video. So if you guys want to see more detail what that's about, like check it out. But right now it's simple. The price is struggling to break over the 120 moving average. RSI is premium. We are in resistance. It can go higher. It can go up to 230, even 330 and 333 very easily. But we have that descending resistance. I mean, we tend to see volume reverse at that point, especially over the 120 moving average. If we can break up higher and actually break over the swing high, we still have, potential resistance at like 378 max. And if we can hold a higher low or just break out of this, then we can be looking at, retesting previous highs very easily. But until that happens, it's just it just makes sense to be very cautious right now and understand that we can still fill the rest of the support area very, very easily. Now with UVXY, if you guys don't know, it's pretty good for hedging. I mean, we saw the market rally a bit, so we saw it fall, but it's this isn't something I would look at. Like I don't even have any like indicators besides the RSI, but basically the VIX, it UVXY follows it. It's leveraged for short term trading. It follows the VIX. It does depreciate over time, so this isn't a hold. You don't buy UVXY to hold. You buy for quick hedging. The idea here is though, if it doesn't matter if you're trading like the S&P. Oh, I actually thought the S&P made a new high, but it didn't. I'm very interested in buying some short-term longs on the S&P if we can go below the 120 moving average. I'm keeping an eye on that. But basically, the VIX, it's simple, right? It's a really good tool to protect your portfolio, protect against a hyped up market where it can go higher. Like you can have a multi-month long swing trade, and in moments like this where we see a lot of hype mainly due to external factors, just one company really influencing the market. For example, like if you're buying like this is how I'm looking at it, right? If you're buying, and it's a really good thing to trade like when there's a lot of optimism building up, but if we see a big hyped up rally due to external factors, and you're just accumulating, right? You're accumulating where it makes sense, and you're gonna hold it for a while, but you want to protect against short-term volatility. It's simple, right? You buy UVXY as an example, as based on a percentage estimate of whatever your position sizing is and how aggressive or non-aggressive you want to be with it. But then every time we see like the market have quick dips or hyped up rallies that end up just getting canceled out potentially, this is a form of insurance basically. So like right now, the market, like we saw all that go up quite a bit, so this fell. So now if all that gets canceled out, the idea here is that for like if you're taking a short-term long, believing that, you know, uh whatever stock, it can be the S&P, it can be the Nasdaq, QQQ, or it can be Bitcoin or whatever. You're expecting and you're taking longs, expecting this to continue to go up higher. Um, you can hedge it with UVXY, for example, because when the VIX pops, UVXY pops, and that's the point, that you buy a lot less of UVXY, like on a dollar basis, for the actual investment than you would, like, for example, if you're buying Bitcoin. So if you believe Bitcoin's gonna go higher and you put like 10,000 into it, for example, then maybe you buy like $1,000 of UVXY. The point isn't to completely make more money from UVXY than you're making with the potential profitable trade. The point of it is that if Bitcoin goes down and you're in your short term long, at least for the moment, is down like 1,000. The idea is that your UVXY trade can be up like 200, 300. The idea is just to cushion. Is you're hedging, you're just cushioning, keeping that portfolio or the trade value overall from coming down so aggressively. You're just hedging, you're protecting a little bit. So it's just something to keep an eye on right now, because this looks very, very attractive. I was looking at it earlier today, when the market was still open. So again, like, if we see the market fall, or some fear kicks back in, because right now there's a ton of greed. So if fear kicks back in, UVXY can at least cushion your portfolio. And then, like, if you're like me, where you're not just taking advantage of short-term trades, you're also accumulating for the rest of the bull market potentially. You're taking like different kind of strategies, then UVXY can at least cushion the short-term trades, and then any profit from UVXY you can just transfer it over into, because then if you make a profit on UVXY, chances are, like, Bitcoin's down, chances are, right? So then you can take those profits and put it in and continue to average down Bitcoin with it. At least that's what I've done before, and that's what I will continue to do. So hopefully this video made sense, guys. One more time, because Mara is kind of like very important. Bitcoin's kind of dipping a little bit, but if Bitcoin comes down even into that support area I just showed you guys, yeah, it can amplify an MSTR, it can amplify Mara, and we can just see it come down aggressively. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at, is to see if it's actually going to attempt to hold a higher low. But the structure was already very bearish. Breaking over resistance, which is again an external factor that I don't believe is sustainable. Just like when we get the opportunity to take overall profits above $20, for the longer term swing trade, I do not believe right now that Mara is very sustainable over $20, especially if you guys understand that they put a lot of money into growing this company. There's every 4 years, if they're not really like locking in, their profit gets cut in half, and they got to really keep up with that. So that's why every bull cycle top, we tend to see these lower highs. And Bitcoin has been trading around all-time highs recently, and check this out, right? We're still lower. So it's just something to keep an eye on. So right now, I believe $20 isn't very sustainable. The opportunity, I believe, is still there, but it's just not something. And then here's the bigger picture on Bitcoin. See, it's like a completely opposite thing. It kind of looks like an inverse, sort of like ETF. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.